Hey there, all you friends, true believers, and newcomers alike. Superfly Comics Guy here, and guess what? This book right here is getting a reprint this March, so that means it's time for your friendly neighborhood comic book nerd here to take you through the cover, the spine, the contents collected, the build quality, and a flip through of the Spider-Man vs. Venom Omnibus, or the Venom Omnibus Volume 0, whatever you want to call it. That's what we'll be taking a look at today, so if you enjoy the video at any point, you know how to show it. And feel free, as always, to leave your thoughts down below. But with that out of the way, let's start taking a look at the start of Spidey's symbiote saga. Let's go. Okay, so quick shout out first of all to Manny C for suggesting me to bring this review to you guys. I read this ages ago, but it just took me forever to put the actual review out, but here we are now. And I just want to mention, this is not the reprint that's coming out soon. This is the 2018 edition of this book, so keep that in mind when I'm talking about things like the build quality and other stuff like that. But the contents and everything should be the same. So, starting off here, we got the dust jacket. This is the standard, well, at the time, this was the only cover available, but for the reprint, this will be the standard cover for the omnibus, and there is now a direct market cover that they will be bringing to you as well. I'm not a huge fan of that direct market cover. It doesn't really, it's like Spider-Man and Venom fighting, and then you have Spidey in the back. It doesn't really sell the whole Spidey versus Venom thing. I would have much preferred something like, I don't know, Amazing Spider-Man 375 for a direct market cover, but hey, what do I know, right? Here is the spine for you. Spidey versus Venom there, and then you got like a nice iconic Erik Larsen image there. Spidey in Venom's eyes. The back here, cover gallery, and lots and lots of contents here. We got Amazing Spider-Man 258, 300, 315 through 317, 332 to 333, 346 to 347, 361 to 363, 374 and 378 to 380, and then you got Web of Spider-Man number 1, 95 through 96, and 101 to 103. You got Avengers Death Trap The Vault, Darkhawk 13 through 14, Spider-Man The Trial of Venom, Ghost Rider Blaze, Spirits of Vengeance 5 through 6, Spider-Man the 1990 series 35 through 37, Spectacular Spider-Man 201 to 203, and material from Amazing Spider-Man 373, 375, 388, and Annual 25 through 26, Web of Spider-Man Annual 7 through 8, Spectacular Spider-Man Annual number 12, Marvel Comics Presents 117 through 122, Spider-Man Unlimited 1 through 2, plus additional Venom subplot pages. Yeah, you still here? Good. 125 US dollar cover price and 158 Canadian. I believe that will be staying the same for the reprint as well. Could be wrong on that. Let's have a look what we have under the dust jacket, and let me assure you, it's something real pretty. Oh yeah, check out that sucker. Nice, gigantic wraparound by Mr. Mark Bagley. Look at that. That is amazing. I love that so much. Mark Bagley draws the best Carnage, hands down. You could argue about Venom and Spidey, but I think Carnage, yeah, Mark Bagley's got it down. But let's start taking a flip through. Okay, so here we go. Real quick, as I'm flipping through here, let me know what you guys think about the video quality. I'm trying something a little bit new, so I'd be curious to hear what you think. But otherwise, we're just straight into this. Here we have Secret Wars number 8, Amazing Spider-Man 258. Oh, such a good cover. This was homaged in the animated series as well. But as you can tell, we're jumping around a lot in this early part because, yeah, this 3-in-1 omnibus, this highlight reel, this symbiote sampler, if you will, is collecting all of the major and minor Venom and symbiote suit appearances up until Venom becomes the lethal protector. So I guess if you're not super familiar with what the symbiote suit is or who Venom is or any of that stuff, then I guess minor spoiler warning for this review. I don't really like to talk about spoilers in my review, but I will be covering, the character of Venom and some of the events that happened to Spidey leading up to this. So if you don't want to hear any of that, then I guess time to bounce. But I'm going to do my best to keep things vague. But yeah, the Venom symbiote is very much the focus here. So much so that a lot of people actually view this book as the Venom Omnibus Volume 0, which, you know, I think that's fair. Oh, that iconic scene where Spidey goes to the clock tower to remove the symbiote. So good. But yeah, this early part is sort of giving you a whole bunch of small snippets of the major events where Peter first got the symbiote suit, and then some of the events after that where he's being mysteriously stalked by some figure who's eventually revealed to be Venom. And it's just so cool to see how Venom's design hasn't really changed all that much since his inception. Just sign of a good design right there. Yeah, the majority of this will seem pretty familiar to you if you've watched my Amazing Spider-Man by McFarlane and McFarlane Omnibus review, or my Amazing Spider-Man by McFarlane and Erik Larsen Omnibus review, because this, you know, a lot of the stories in this book are from those books. So we're starting off here with a whole bunch of the Todd McFarlane era. David McFarlane on the majority of writing in this book. And God, look at this. It's so good. It's such a treat to see Todd McFarlane art again. Man, why doesn't he just come back and draw some more Spidey? Look at that. So good. I love how the colors pop in this omnibus too. But yeah, it's called Spidey versus Venom, but this is still very much a Venom-centric book, you'll find. Because yes, we do get a lot of those iconic Spidey versus Venom battles, as you can see here from Todd McFarlane's run on Amazing Spider-Man. But then you get all of the sort of side spin-off Venom stories as well, when he wasn't appearing in Amazing Spider-Man. So here we have, for example, Avengers Death Trap, The Vault, which is, you know, a bit where Venom just basically instigates a prison riot at the Vault, and the Avengers have to stop him, and there's this whole bomb plot going on. You know, it's all right, but it wasn't super memorable or interesting to me. But like I said, I'm not really going to cover too much of the story in this omnibus, because like I said, a lot of it overlaps with the other two omnibus reviews that I mentioned, the McFarlane Omnibus and the Erik Larsen Omnibus. But yeah, here we're into the Erik Larsen era now, and this is really cool. Even though Erik Larsen's not my favorite Spider-Man artist, I still think he's pretty good. I do think some of the best early Venom stories come from this era, like the bit where Spidey and Venom fight it out on an island, and the way Spidey gets out of it is just so creative. You're going to get some flashback stories in here, moments from Venom's past. Some crossovers with Darkhawk, which, you know, they're all right. I wasn't super invested into it because I didn't really know who Darkhawk was. He just kind of looked like this extreme sports Power Ranger looking guy. And I've just offended all of the Darkhawk fans. I'm sorry. But I mean, it's enjoyable enough if you just want to watch like a fun, crazy fight between two characters. But otherwise, this. And now this is where we're starting to get into some stuff that isn't collected in the Larsen Omnibus or the McFarlane Omnibus. Because this is Amazing Spider-Man 361. We're getting an appearance of Carnage. But now we're into the McFarlane and Mark Bagley era. It's early Bagley, so I think he's still getting the hang of things. It's not my favorite Bagley work, but I mean, come on, it's still Mark Bagley. It's great nonetheless. But yeah, the Carnage stuff in here is awesome, man. Carnage is in my opinion, one of the most terrifying Spidey villains. Because yeah, Venom can be scary too, but you know, Venom is a guy who is just, he's not trying to be a bad person. He just really has this burning hatred for Spider-Man specifically. Carnage, on the other hand, is this crazed serial killer even before he gets the symbiote. And then when he does bond with the symbiote, you just get this insane villain. He's a lot stronger than Spidey and Venom. And I always loved that because that leads to some really interesting team-up stories, some of which you will actually get in this omnibus. There's a nice example there. But yeah, there's a lot of material in here that I really, really hope makes it into an Amazing Spider-Man by Michelini and Mark Bagley omnibus one day. Come on, Marvel. I know you can do it. But it's not all fantastic stuff during this time. I mean, let's not forget where we are. We're on the cusp of the early 90s here, so this is where stuff starts to get really zany. We have all these stories with Hobgoblin and Demogoblin and Doppelganger and Ghost Rider. I mean, Ghost Rider's awesome, come on. And like stories like Spirits of Venom, which is like this crossover between all these characters. It's very silly, it's very dumb. But speaking of which, this omnibus also collects Maximum Carnage in its entirety. Now, if you don't know what Maximum Carnage is, it's one of the most just outrageous 90s Spider-Man crossovers out there, not counting the Clone Saga. But this is just kind of dumb, loud, silly action. Really, it's all it is. Basically, what happens is Carnage breaks out and he assembles this team of villains like himself, Shriek, Doppelganger, Demogoblin, and pits them against Spidey, who has to assemble now his team. He's got to make a tentative alliance with Venom, but also call on the help of Black Cat and Cloak and Dagger and even Jared Leto. I mean, Morbing Time himself.
It's Morbin time.
And, you know, it's just silly. You're not really meant to take it too seriously. It's fun. It's dumb. But there is some interesting character moments in here, too. This is kind of the time where his relationship, Peter's relationship with Mary Jane starts to get a bit more strained because, you know, they're trying to focus more on family. They're married at this time. She really just wants Peter to kind of take a break from all the action and take a break from being Spidey. Stop putting himself in danger so much. But I mean, this is awesome, man. You got some really great artwork in here. Mark Bagley putting in work. It's so good. But you also get other artists in here, like Sal Buscema here, who I also think is great at drawing Spidey, especially like with the mask and stuff. I love the way he draws. But yeah, I don't really want to go too much more into the story and stuff because I'll be honest, there isn't much. This book jumps around a lot. It's just a fun collection of 90s nonsense, really, before it went like really off the rails. This is like fun 90s. But what we can do is start going through some of the extras included in this omnibus, and there's a lot. Starting with, and I love this, the original concept for the symbiote suit. Where it was black and red instead of black and white. I love that. But you also get, you know, pretty traditional stuff here, like your pinups and posters. This is pretty cool. You get a guide to the Spider-Man Venom Carnage crossover, Maximum Carnage, where it just gives you like the whole like reading order of everything. Man, you can tell this is kind of around that time where things started to get a little bit out of control with all the crossovers and jumping around between titles. 90s. Oh yeah, there's that gorgeous wraparound that they used for the board of this book. Love that. But you also get other stuff in here, like an afterword by Howard Mackey, and I believe there's one by J.M. DeMatteis as well. There was a good one by David Michelini in here as well. Yeah, here it is, where he's sort of talking about how he originally wanted to kill Venom and how he came up with the idea with symbiote offspring and then the invention of Carnage. That was really interesting. But then you have, you know, other covers, character designs and inks and stuff. It's a pretty hefty extra section. Quick flip through the rest here just to give you an idea of some of them. We won't go through all of them, but the art definitely really, really solid in this book. Oh, it's so good. So many iconic covers. But yeah, I think that'll do it for this extra section. Now for the build quality, again, take this with a grain of salt because like I said, this is the 2018 printing, but there's that very, very sharp eye that my copy has. Almost a damn triangle. 1,160 pages is what we got. And I opened up to the spread page here, so as you can see, really zero gutter loss with this specific copy I have. I imagine with the new printing, it'll probably be a little bit stiffer. What I will say is I do think this book could have used a table of contents just because all of the jumping around that it does. It can be a little disorienting sometimes if you're trying to find a specific thing. In terms of the page quality, the pages themselves, I think, are pretty good quality in this printing, but even so, there's a decent amount of bleed through coming through, just because, you know, there's a lot of whites being used still around this time, so the colors tend to seep through a little bit. So it's not like that's only a problem with recent books, right? But just to wrap up some thoughts for you here, you know, I've heard that this book gets a lot of flack sometimes for being pointless because a lot of the material is in other omnis and it double dips a lot, but I think this is perfect for people who are big fans of specifically the symbiote stories from Spidey, or maybe you're huge 90 fans, but you don't want to, you know, commit to the entire McFarlane omnibus or the entire Erik Larsen omnibus. Maybe you just want the symbiote highlights. So I think this is great. This has a little bit of each. Hopefully some from an eventual, you know, Bagley omnibus. Come on, Marvel, you know we want that. But you know, it's not amazing stuff, but it's definitely at its best when Spidey and Venom are the focus. But it definitely loses steam whenever it sort of veers off into spin-offs like that Avengers, the Vault issue, or like some of the silly Spirits of Venom type stuff. But, you know, I still think it's enjoyable enough. Let me know if you're picking up the reprint, but that's been my review of the Spider-Man vs. Venom Omnibus. Let me know what you thought about the book or the review or anything like that. And yeah, if you have any ideas for other books you'd want me to take a look at, let me know. And, you know, if I have them, I'll be happy to showcase them on the channel for you. But thank you so much for joining me today, guys. I hope I'll catch you in another video real soon. So you have yourself a great day. I've been Superfly Comics Guy, and until next time, you keep reading. Bye, guys.